Hey guys, my name's Ben Robinson. I'm from Bolton in the UK. I'm 22 years old. Reason I've set up this YouTube blog is just kind of to spread the word basically. At the moment, mental health is a massive topic in the media. Last week there was a topic on boys suffering from eating disorders has increased massively, which is no surprise really to me. The, the stress on social media and how to get a perfect physique, and people look up to these guys and think like, oh, I want to be like that, but then do you want to be like that, or do you just want to be like that because it looks good? But it's just kind of like to speak about mental health. Like I want people to be able to speak up. Like the reason I'm doing this is I've suffered from anorexia for 7 years now. I started suffering from 15 years of age, and it's been a long road. I'm not ashamed of it one bit. Yeah, I've tried killing myself. I've starved myself to death. I've been on death's bed. I've been given a night to live. I've cut my wrists. I've bitten holes out my arms. I've done all that, and yeah, people might think like, Jesus Christ, like he must have been crazy. And at the time, I thought I was crazy. But you know what? Like, if it wasn't for that happening, then I wouldn't be the person I am today. I stand up in front of people at universities and international conferences and talk about this because I'm passionate about this. I speak about my past because I want to prevent somebody else going through that in the future. I've spoken to a lot of people who suffer from anorexia and self-harm and depression, and like when you're on the outside picture and you're not that person who's being spoken to, it's a total different kettle of fish. When I was poorly, I didn't want to get better because I was scared of getting better. I was scared of what people were going to think when I come back to college. People were going to think at the tennis club. People were going to look at me differently because I was stick thin, and but people would think when I didn't want to eat like pizza and chips, because that was a scary food. And you know what? Like, all that worry was for nothing, because people do judge you, but not in a way that you think they're going to judge you. People think like, wow, like he's actually poorly. What can we do to help him? And it makes you realise who are your family and friends. For them 7 years have been hell, and yeah, it's not been easy like on the family or friends. But you know what? Like, it's made my relationships with my family, my relationships with my friends so much stronger. And people think like, oh, no good can come out of a mental health illness, but you know what? Like, a lot of good has come out of my illness. Like, I'm now working on the other side, so I'm helping people with mental health problems. I'm now a support worker for kids in care. I've got my own little business. I go to the gym, which is my passion. And I've got a house I've got a house, and my family are healthy, my friends are healthy, and you know what? Like, that's all you could ask for. A lot of people take life for granted, but when your life's been taken from you by such a horrible illness, it makes you realise how lucky you are to have a life. Before I got ill, I'll admit, I judged alcoholics, I judged drug addicts, I judged people with mental health problems, but do you know what? That's because I never understood about mental health, whereas now I can totally relate with someone lying on the street who's asking for coppers just to go and buy some food, when actually they're actually going to buy alcohol. But I understand why they do that, and people judge them for that and say, oh, I'm not giving them any money because they'll just go and buy vodka. But you try having an addiction and try stopping that addiction without any help. I was addicted to starving myself to death, and I would have starved myself to death if people hadn't have intervened. And that's how dangerous a mental health illness is, especially anorexia. You will literally carry on going until you die, because there's no stopping. Like the illness, there's no stopping. There's the voice in your head what tells you to starve yourself. So when people judge people for going through a mental health illness, this is what I want to combat, and I don't judge the people who are judging them. Like, it's all down to lack of understanding. But it's about time, like, we try teaching people how to understand, so that society doesn't pressurise people into not being able to speak about having a mental health problem. Like, I know girls and lads who have self-harmed, and they cover the scars up every day on their arms. Yeah, people think like I've got tattoos, yeah, and I have covered up a few scars, but I'm not ashamed to talk about that, and I'm not ashamed to admit that I have got scars. Do you know? Like, why should you be ashamed of it? The scars are a sign of strength. That scar was once a gash or a cut. I've allowed that cut to heal up, and it was very hard to do because I wanted to hurt myself, but I wanted to also get better in the latter stages of my recovery. So they are a sign of strength to me, and that's what I say to everybody who self-harms. So the reason I want to do these YouTube blogs is going to be different, be discussing different topics and like self-harm, how do family and friends cope with people who are suffering from anorexia or a mental health illness, what it's like to live as an inpatient, because I was an inpatient for a year in a specialised inpatient unit, and I was also sectioned under the Mental Health Act for a year. What it's like to live for the person who suffers from eating disorder or a mental health illness, and then there's going to be just a bit about like stigma and what we can do to help mental health and raise awareness. And of course, if you've got any questions and what need answering, then just message us on here or find me on Facebook. My name's Ben Robinson, and just message us on there. You know, don't be afraid. There are people out there who know how you feel, including me, and there's a lot more people who know how you feel but just don't want to talk about it, and I don't blame them for not wanting to talk about it, because they might just think, right, that's in the past now and I want to move on, and I totally understand why they want to do that. But for me, I want to use my bad experiences to help prevent people going through the same experience. And I understand how hard it is for somebody to speak up, but if it's the speaking up which is the hardest bit, and once you've done that you think like, oh my god, why didn't I do that before? And once I understand that people don't want to get better, but why? Things will not get better until you make that step forward, and it sounds blunt, but it's the truth. You know, I didn't want to get better, hence why I went into an inpatient unit. I wanted to kill myself, and I did try and kill myself, and it didn't gain me anything. It didn't gain me anything from listening to that voice in my head telling me to starve myself, because it was only making me worse and worse and worse. That voice in your head is not your friend. It may seem like it, and I listen to my voice in my head all the time. And at times I thought it was my friend because it was making me happy, but in actual fact it wasn't making me happy. I was making myself happy by starving myself, so I didn't have to listen to the voice. But in actual fact, you have to combat that voice to get better and to get where you want to be in life. Everybody is worthy of a good life, and so are you. Like, just because you've got a mental health illness doesn't mean that you're stupid or you're weird or you're crazy. It just means you've got an illness. You know, people get cancer, which is an illness. People get diabetes, which is an illness. Nobody judges them. So why judge somebody with a mental health problem? You know, don't be ashamed of it. You know, people with diabetes aren't ashamed of saying they've got diabetes. It's an illness that can be solved. You can get help. There is help out there. A lot of help. A lot more help than there was 7 years ago, when I was suffering from it. And you can get better, because I'm proof that you can get better. There's people out there, loads of people, loads of friends I've got who have all been suffering from mental health problems in the past, who are now out there doing jobs what they never thought they'd have. You know, they've got a life that they never thought they'd have. They thought they'd never get better. Now I've got friends who have babies, nursing jobs, in army, police, loads of things, and that just shows that you can recover from a mental health illness, and you will get better. So just stay tuned into my YouTube blog, and like I said, if you've got any questions, don't hold yourself back and not message me. Just message me, and I won't say your name. It'll all be confidential. But the more we speak about it, and the more understanding people get, and the more we'll beat this stigma. And hopefully, the government will start looking up to us and listening and try and pump in more money so we can help the people that need the help. Okay, so take care, guys, and you'll see me soon. Bye.